Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, I want to do a follow-up video about the Durrani decision yesterday by the Ohio Supreme Court. And I want to begin by saying, from October until now, the Deters Law team and all of the lawyers that are on our team, we have pulled off a daily double. And what that is the fraud and conspiracy to commit fraud in their scam on lack of cooperation defense on their coverage is going forward in federal court now. They have sent over their initial discovery. I'm sure there's going to be a battle. We're printing that off. We'll be looking at it. And depositions have been, the first 3 depositions are scheduled in January. We are going to take Medical Protective down a notch. You can't make this up. Medical Protective out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, is owned wholly by Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett. They have refused from day one, creating a fraudulent defense, have refused to pay $42 million to these Durrani victims. Not a cent offered on any of these individual cases. Warren Buffett last year gave away $4 billion to charity. Let that sink in. And I want everybody to know that December the 13th at 11 a.m., and there's a meme that we're circulating, I'm going to be on Dinesh D'Souza's show to talk about the butcher of Pakistan. And the story, I think, finally is going to go national. Yesterday's decision, part of the Daily Double, is a decision where it adds 141 additional claims against Medical Protective and Durrani, and it adds 30 cases against Cincinnati Children's Hospital. I want to stress this to you. If you had a Durrani surgery, no matter when it was, okay, no matter when it was, it may not be too late for you to do something. And I encourage you to email me at eric@ericdeters.com or text me at 859-250-2527. Again, if you know anybody who had a Durrani surgery, I don't care when it was, it now may not be too late to do something about it. Contact us, okay? The news media all covered this when we lost it in December 2020. You know how I roll about the media. When they do the right thing, I'll say something. I want to thank Fox 19 and News 5 for covering the story. Thank you. I haven't seen anything from Channel 9 or Channel 12 or the Inquirer. But I want to thank, or the Columbus Dispatch, but I want to thank them for covering the story. I want to share a few more things about it. This is a funny anecdote. Maureen O'Connor is having this portrait done. Here's something you may not have heard. Inside, this is true. It was released in the news. She has getting this portrait done. She was the first woman Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. I hate her. She's evil. She voted for Durrani yesterday. The 3 Democrats who are good human beings, Brunner, Stewart, and Donnelly. Donnelly wrote the decision, and Stewart and Brunner joined him in that decision. They're good human beings. Support O'Connor's portrait going out in the main hall of the Supreme Court Justice Center. Sharon Kennedy, who sided with O'Connor yesterday, the new Chief Justice, and Fisher and DeWine opposed the portrait of going into the main corridor. Hilarious. Now, I'm going to end this with a little joke. I think Maureen O'Connor's portrait should go in the women's restroom. I've carried, and it's so funny to hear your legal enemies. You know, there's not, they think you're committing malpractice, screwing it up. Folks, in the history of law, what we pulled off in the Durrani litigation so far, and will continue to pull off, is the most incredible legal story in the history of this country. It is, I'm sorry. You read The Butcher of Pakistan, the sequel to that book is even going to be better. It is amazing. And I've carried since 2015 the issue that was decided. I've waited since 2015 for that issue to be decided. 7 years. I've carried the burden of that for 7 years. I told my good buddy Randy McCafferty that I had push strength. Push strength is when you got the bench. I bench pressed over 300 pounds one time. He spotted me. And it's called push strength. It's not the yanking, it's that steady push. Randy calls it push strength. I had push strength. Just so you know, the Deters Law received significant fee from the 4 previous hospital settlements. Rather than abandon these people, which would have been an awful thing to do, we pushed all those chips back on the table fighting for them. And I myself have, because I financed the litigation, pushed all my chips back in. And we hit the daily double. Finally, I want to say a few things. I hate to politicize this a little bit, but I'm going to. You know one of the reasons why I like Donald Trump? You ever hear him talk about tort reform? Like the teacup drinking, Chamber of Commerce Republican establishment always talks about? The first thing Kim Mosier and the Kentucky Republican legislature did when they got in power in Kentucky was so-called tort reform, restricting your rights if a doctor screws up. Trump never has breathed a word, as he shouldn't. The other thing about the Durrani litigation, this is a monumental decision for people seeking justice, that an evil doctor should not benefit from his flight. Number 2, the Sherry Potts case, the Potts case, unbelievable. The largest verdict in the history of Ohio, $38 million, never reported on. The Jacob Cotter case, the only case in the history of Ohio where a hospital, Children's, was found guilty of negligent credentialing and retention. $3 million plus verdict, $2 million punitive damages. We got 30 cases like that going against them. So we have done great things for victims, and I bet all my chips on it. All my chips. I want to close by this. I was talking to Randy McCafferty last night, my chaplain, my buddy, my personal preacher. And I said, you know, I think it's divine providence, Randy, that I've been involved in the Durrani case. It's just, I was meant to do this for these people. And I said, I just love that, you know, God uses imperfect men for these great things. I mean, I've read the Bible cover to cover twice, so I know it. And he says, Eric, let me tell you something. Do you know why God chooses and uses imperfect men? I said, why? He goes, because that's the only kind there are. I said, good point. So ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation and the Durrani victims, once again, I thank you for your trust. In the history of lawyer-client relationships, there has never been a more special relationship between a lawyer, a law firm, and clients as mine with the Durrani victims. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.